Well, welcome wheelchair rugby fans across Canada and indeed around the world to the Richmond Olympic Oval here in beautiful Richmond, British Columbia.
When you think of the Paralympics, chances are full contact sports aren't what come to mind. But that's exactly what you'll get with wheelchair rugby. Played on a hardwood court with 4 players aside, this high-intensity game isn't for the faint of heart.
We're here at the IWRF Paralympic Qualification Tournament.
The custom-made wheelchairs are designed specifically for the sport and for the players to rebound quickly from hard hits. But it's more than just a contact sport. It's a lifestyle where the only goal is getting across the line. Trevor Hirschfield is Team Canada's co-captain and has been playing wheelchair rugby since 2006. It's 1 week into the Tokyo 2020 last chance qualifier for the Games, and Trevor is en route to one of his final training sessions before the big tournament.
I don't know, I think it's just a level of aggression you're able to release when you have the 2 chairs and the sound of the metal crashing. It's exciting. Everyone thinks that because we've had an injury or whatever, we're frail and we need to be, coddled, looked out for, but you go play this sport and people come watch this sport and they realize, holy cow, these are athletes. They're out here banging around and they're taking hits and giving hits and they're falling over and getting back up. It's an exciting sport.
This is the last chance to qualify for the Tokyo Paralympics. 6 teams have already booked tickets and 2 of the 7 will book tickets from this event on Sunday. My name's Tim Frick. I'm joined by Adam Frost, color commentator extraordinaire. Frosty, what should we expect?
Yeah, well, I expect that Canada will probably come out and dominate this game from start to finish. I think they are a better team.
And they don't have a very big bench, whereas Canada has got lots of players that they can call in case anyone gets a bit tired. Switzerland, of course, ranked number 15 in the world. Canada ranked 5. But a 10-spot ranking difference might be a bit too much.
I would think so, and you bring up a good point. So far in my game predictions, I have been wrong 2 out of 3, so hopefully I haven't jinxed the team in black today, but I'm sure that we'll find out shortly.
And Mike Whitehead wins the tip. Back to Zach Medell, up to Trevor Hirschfield.
To better understand the passion these players have for the sport and what brought them to the game, we visit one of the team's top players, Trevor Hirschfield, at his home with his wife and 2 little kids in Parksville, BC.
My name's Trevor Hirschfield. I play wheelchair rugby for the Canadian national team and I'm one of the co-captains. Wheelchair rugby is a full contact sport that was developed in Winnipeg for people with impairments in 3 or more of their limbs.
My name's Lisa and I'm Trevor's wife, his better half actually. I've known Trevor for almost 10 years. We met in Victoria at the Howard Johnson Hotel, where I was serving at the time in the restaurant. And the team was staying at the hotel different times throughout the summer, and I saw him quite a bit. And then finally he talked to me.
So the game's played on a basketball court, a regulation-sized basketball court. We play 4-on-4. And those 4 players on the court at one time can't be more than 8 points. So when I talk about points, those are the classifications given to athletes based on their level of disability or their level of function. Highest functioning player on the sport would be a 3.5, and the lowest functioning player in the sport would be a 0.5. So those 4 players on the court can't exceed 8 points.
I'm Byron Green. I'm a 0.5 for the National Wheelchair Rugby Team Canada.
As a member of Team Canada since 2013, Byron's journey to being on the team is rooted in his lifelong interest in sport.
Grew up on Vancouver Island in the small community of Merville, which is right outside of Courtenay. Growing up, I played a ton of different sports. So at first really got into soccer and baseball in the summer, got into cross-country running, orienteering, I did swimming lessons. So yeah, I really dabbled in everything that I could.
I'm David Green, and I'm Byron's dad. He was always active. You know, he was a real reader as well, but when he wasn't reading, he would be playing with his two brothers growing up, you know, on the farm here. You know, we actually grew Christmas trees, so he was pretty busy with that as well. And, you know, he got into mountain biking as well. Did a bit of competitive dual slalom racing and that, just, you know.
Tons of trails to ride on, which were amazing. It's so much fun.
He was competitive, but not overly competitive. He was just quietly competitive, I would say, you know, just in his own way. He'd have to work hard at things, but he would improve. And
No try called by the referee, and that'll do it. Canada with a decisive 53-38 victory, top to bottom, outstanding performance by Team Canada, Frosty.
My name is Marilyn Hirschfield, and I'm Trevor's mother, and Trevor's very much like me.
Hi, my name is Bob Hirschfield, and I'm Trevor's dad.
Trevor was a very busy child. He didn't watch much TV. He would prefer to wrestle, his dad, versus watching wrestle. He liked to be outside. He did not play a lot of video games. He was a very active young man.
We also have a daughter, so Marilyn would go off. She coached Melissa in hockey and ringette, and I coached Trevor in baseball and hockey and football. So our seasons, we didn't see much of each other during sports season. So it was a pretty hectic family that way.
I think the first time I went to see him play was at World Championships in Richmond. So that was a pretty high level tournament to see right off the hop, but it was exciting. And Trevor kind of told me about the game and the rules, and I used to play basketball, so I definitely caught on pretty quickly to some of the rules. I'm still learning though.
Hey guys, we're just gonna go grab my rugby chair and head up to the courts.
My name is Alana, and I'm Byron's wife. We are cliche high school sweethearts. So I thought it was the coolest sport ever when we got into it. I'd never seen anything like it before, but I think the coolest part about wheelchair rugby is how close those teammates are. I think the coolest thing was just more learning from the other guys, more just about everyday stuff. They're just constantly giving each other tips, life hacks on how to survive as a quad. And I think that was the coolest thing, because it really, those guys brought him independence. I think he is way further, because of wheelchair rugby, way more independent than we ever thought he would be.
It's such a game changer, right? Like, you're a 16-year-old kid, you're grade 12, looking forward to graduating and, you know, go traveling and start being independent and just like exploring the world, right? Just so excited to get out there and have some adventures. And then next thing you know, like, you can't even lift your arm above your head. Like, you can't even dress yourself, feed yourself. You're like back to being a toddler again.
I was a competitive Highland dancer, and I was calling him to tell him about my competition weekend. I'd cleaned up that weekend and called him, and his brother said, he's not here right now, he's at the hospital. And I was like, what, Jace? And I said, what's wrong? And he's like, I don't know. And I could tell by his brother's voice, I don't know, that something wasn't right. We knew it was bad. It was bad.
Across the Line will be back after the break. We now return to Across the Line.
Well, welcome wheelchair rugby fans across Canada and indeed around the world, and particularly from Colombia today, as we get set for day 2 action here at the Richmond Olympic Oval in beautiful sunny Richmond, British Columbia. Top 2 teams here will head to Tokyo. The other 5 go back home and train for 2024. Kind of sounds tough, but that's the way sport is. I'm Tim Frick. I'm joined by Adam Frost in the booth here. Adam, of course, a player of Team Canada when they won the World Championships in 2002. Since then has coached at the national level, the provincial level, coached internationally.
My name is Duncan Campbell, and my relationship with Team Canada is I'm actually the National Development Director for Wheelchair Rugby in Canada. So a lot of the players have been recruited either through me or through programs that I initiate or manage. Ex-hockey players seem to be the best for some reason. I don't know why, but the game kind of relates. Soccer players and basketball players take a little longer to learn the game. Hockey players seem to catch it right away. I think it's because of the hitting and the spacing of the floor. Also, you look for guys that are athletic. You look for people that, have long arms. You look for people that somehow you can tell that they're going to train a bit. They're going to try this thing out. And people that like to be involved in sport. But the commitment's pretty drastic now, so it changes over time. 15 years ago, I was just looking for somebody that wanted to play the game. Now I'm looking for somebody who wants to play the game to create the club system so that there's always a welcoming environment for people. But I'm also looking for the guy that's got that fire, that desire to play for Canada.
The competitive aspect of it, it's pretty impressive. My name is Patrick Côté. I'm the Canadian Wheelchair Rugby national team head coach. Well, you're going to be mind blown by the physicality of the sport, how fierce the guys are going to be. Again, you walk into the gym, it's like bam, guy flies on the floor, and it's normal, and everybody's like, whoa, there's a guy in a wheelchair that just fell over. Like, oh, pick him back up. That's it. That's what we do.
I've always loved contact sports, so hockey and football I really enjoyed when I was younger. And I enjoyed the strategy behind the sport. I enjoy that it's a sport that I can constantly grow in and constantly learning just new ways of approaching the sport technically.
When you really understand the physical function of the different athletes, like, well, the one with the most physical function to the newcomer, it's like, oh, it's the better player. Zach Medell's going to be, he's going to score a lot of goals.
Here comes Medell, he's hooked, but gets away. Nice blocking by the Canadian team. It might have looked rather simple, but there was excellent play. All three Canadian players setting blocks that time. Not necessarily making contact, but enough to create pathways for Medell.
Zach Medell scores a lot of goals because he's got teammates opening up lanes, and so you get to appreciate what other players are able to do based on their physical ability as well. Just having, example, a Byron Green or a Trevor Hirschfield with the physical function they have, inbound the ball over the three-point line, it is amazing. To me, it blows my mind as much as seeing a human being run 100 meter under 10 seconds. It's that type of level of performance based on what they have. When we talk about the past 10, 12, 15 years in this case, we're rarely talking about game scores or game outcomes. It's the little human stories at meal or with staff, or how much fun we have on the road just doing this. So it's a collection of moments. It's not one stunning one.
What a performance by Team Canada here this morning.
I think they're going to be happy with their first two games. Obviously, wins, but both scores were quite wide margins. So
period ends Canada with a convincing 62-35 victory over Colombia, Frosty.
For Trevor Hirschfield, there are a lot of things he loves about the game.
The one thing that I think always comes out is just that enjoyment of winning. That's great. I think it's in all sports, that excitement you get, and especially doing it with teammates and people around you. You get to share that with the people that you train with and your friends and family at that point.
Growing up on Vancouver Island, Byron Green took advantage of the growing sport of mountain biking. It was constantly getting him outside in the nearby trails.
So I was 16 years old, and I was mountain biking with my friends and my brother and my dad, and took a bad fall on the trails and ended up breaking my neck.
Oh, yeah, it was, just devastating. It was like,
Instantly paralyzed. It took a little while for the search and rescue crew to get out to us.
They did try to bring in the CFB Comox helicopter to highline it, but the trees were too tight, so they had to have a rescue, ambulance team come in and on a stretcher, and we actually carried him out that way.
Trying one of the bigger stunts, and just wasn't going quite fast enough, and the front of my bike dropped down too much, so I ended up going over my handlebars when I landed and fell on my head, and
Definitely rocked them. So he broke his C5, C6, hope I'm getting that right, and they just shattered essentially on impact.
In a blink of an eye, Byron's whole world was flipped upside down. The injury he sustained would transform his life, altering the path he was on as an avid mountain biker, exploring urban and natural environments, and ultimately leading to become one of Canada's top wheelchair athletes.
Is the end of the tape, guys? You guys have anything smart to say? Climb on roofs. It's a lot of fun.
So we knew by that point what was broken, and at that point he was completely paralyzed. He couldn't move at all, but he was alert and talking, so I talked with him and tried to stay positive. A couple hours later, they loaded him into the chopper and flew him over to VGH. And then I went home and had no idea what was next, what was gonna happen to him.
I've got two amazing brothers, mom and dad, super supportive, and a really great group of friends that really rallied behind me, and they raised a bunch of money to help me get the right equipment that I needed. So yeah, just kind of choke up a little bit thinking about just how lucky I was to have those guys. And then Alana, we had only been dating for about 4 or 5 months. Just having her there was a huge support to me, and just the fact that she stuck around was just awesome. She's a really special person. So
he called me the next day, and I couldn't believe it when I heard his voice, that it was him calling. Somebody was holding the phone up to him, and I was just so relieved to hear his voice and that he was okay. And that after he explained how things were going, he said, "So do you still want to be my girlfriend?" And I knew right then that he was the one. He's a really special guy, and I was really lucky to have him. It was just of course, and never looked back since.
Across the Line will be back after the break. We now return to Across the Line. Back in Parksville on Vancouver Island, Trevor Hirschfield's parents reflect on the moment they learned of their son's injury.
Well, we were up in Salmon Arm visiting my mom, and he took a friend with him, and they had ski-dooed all day, and then they decided they wanted to go back into town. I guess they had met some girls.
And they told us that a good place to go at night was a lookout spot up a logging road. So you can imagine what two 16-year-old boys were doing.
The police came to the door, knocked on the door, and as soon as I opened it, I almost wanted to vomit. I knew something was wrong.
I pulled over to let oncoming car pass.
And a truck was coming down, and he pulled over, and when the truck went by, the road gave away. So he went, I guess it was like they said 75 feet down, but it hadn't gone to the bottom, but I guess a tree had pushed in the driver's side, which Trevor was in, and they said his neck was pushed down like a pop can, basically.
Broke my neck. I broke my C5-6. Wrong place, wrong time. Really no one's fault. No other injuries, major injuries, and you know, I look back and I think that that was a big thing, was that I was the only one injured. It's kind of easier to deal with your injury versus injuring someone else. So
it was probably the longest day of my life, in all honesty. Yeah, it took a long time to get him back. It took a long time to get him into surgery. I think it was like 24 hours before he even had surgery on his neck. Yeah, so it was a really difficult rescue. The only good thing is that nobody else was hurt, and there were 4 other people in the car.
The rehab process can be long, can be a wait after post-surgery. So for me, I was lucky that a spot opened up and I was out of VGH rather quickly post-surgery. So I was there for a week after my surgery, and then I was able to transition into GF Strong, where I was able to start my rehab. He was pretty good there for a while, and then I think the reality did kind of set in that, you know, maybe I'm never going to walk again kind of thing. But for the longest time, I think he had some hope, because there is like a 5-year period where you can get some feeling back. Myself, I just prayed that he'd get his hands, because I thought if nothing else, it would make his life a whole lot easier. But that didn't happen, so yeah. I was introduced to wheelchair rugby when I was going through rehab at GF Strong. Duncan Campbell, who was one of the co-inventors of the sport, encouraged me to try the sport. I had a hockey background, and he knew that hockey players kind of transitioned well into a team sport like wheelchair rugby.
So he would say to myself or to Marilyn, like, we gotta get Trevor involved with this wheelchair rugby. But he won't come, he won't listen to me, he doesn't want to come down, right? So I remember a couple times we would go down to the gym at GF Strong, and they would be 5, 6, 7 wheelchairs, and they're playing this wheelchair rugby, but pretty slow, and Trevor would just look around the door and, nope, I want no part of that.
I didn't try it right away. He actually had to keep hounding me to give it a try. It wasn't until maybe 2.5 years post-injury that I actually tried the sport, and I tried it once and I actually fell in love with it. Anyone who's got sports in their background and team sports, it was something that I was missing post-injury, and just to get around other athletes and other people playing a sport, it was great.
And that was the start.
And I remember the day he went over and he played his first game. His hands were all banged up and bloody, and I'm looking, I've never seen a sport played, this is the other thing. And, but he had a grin from ear to ear. And I think at that point, I saw life in him again. I saw the kid that I knew, the kid that loved to play sports. I mean, he was in the best shape of his life just before his accident. He got a call back from the Cowichan Chiefs. I mean, he had everything going for him. And then all of a sudden, everything was just like ripped away. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of emotional because it was such a hard time. But when I saw that smile on his face, I realized he was back, yeah.
While nowadays the sport is universally known as wheelchair rugby, there was a time when it went by another name, murder ball. Duncan Campbell is one of the founders, and he says that inventing a worldwide sport was never his intention.
Murder ball was an absolute fluke. Okay, everybody thinks that, you know, the four of us or the five of us got together and designed a game because we were out to design a game. Well, we weren't. We were actually all together to lift weights one night. We used to lift weights twice a week for the other sports that were available to us at that time. And we needed a volunteer to get the weights down from they were up high, and they had to pull them down and help us get set up and that kind of thing. And one night the volunteer didn't show up for some reason. It wasn't, you know, nothing drastic or anything, but didn't show up. So we just went down to the gym, the five of us, and we started throwing a ball around, and we tried a few things that we thought might work. And we were having a blast. We were having a lot of fun. And we figured this game out. It just kind of took 2 or 3 times, and all of a sudden we kind of knew that we had something together that could be a lot of fun. That's all we knew at the time. There's now 55 pages of rules, but we came up with a page of rules and we demoed the sport and people liked it. So it started. The name Murder Ball was just the name we came up with because it was a pretty rough sport. You know, we're Canadians, we're hockey, we grew up with hockey, so we want hitting to be involved, and it was. And it was a pretty rough sport, so we just called it Murder Ball. They thought it fit. But at that time, the high-risk sport activities that exist today weren't in place, and it was hard to raise money with the name Murder Ball, and you needed an able-bodied sport counterpart to do a lot of things. You needed to sort of compare it to something. So we came up with wheelchair rugby was the closest sport to us for a bunch of reasons. One was the way you score, you carry the ball across the line. 2, you hit. And 3, the social environment. Like rugby union and rugby league, they have a social environment. They're a sort of a family sport. And so were we. So we figured that would be the closest sport, so we call it wheelchair rugby, and it's stuck ever since.
Across the Line will be back after the break. We now return to Across the Line. Back in Richmond at the Olympic Oval, Team Canada is getting set to play one of the biggest games of their lives. Despite their 2-0 record at the tournament, they still have plenty of opponents to get through in this last chance to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics.
So today's matchup, Canada versus Brazil. It's a 7-team round-robin tournament. Every game counts. All right, Zach Medell for Canada opens the scoring. And there's a errant pass picked off by Cody Caldwell, and Medell will come in and score again. Canada with a quick 2-0 lead.
At any point in time, anyone could beat anyone in our sport. The parity within teams is so tight these days. Qualifying works through 3 zones. So the Oceanias, the top seed out of the Oceanias qualify. The Americans, which is our zone, has 1 seed to offer. The Europeans, which has 2 seeds to offer. So those are all the initial ways to qualify first, is out of your zone. So that's 4 seeds, and then the 1 seed will go to the host country, and 1 seed will go to the winner of the World Championships 2 years ago. So that's 6 seeds, and then through that, if you don't qualify in any of those ways, there's this last chance qualifying tournament.
As Team Canada, we've never not qualified in the sport of wheelchair rugby or the Paralympics, so there's a lot on the line. We had coaching changeover after 2016, and Patrick Cote has come in, and I mean, he was with the team, brought some fresh ideas to the table and really kind of innovated our style of play. So it's been a lot of fun kind of learning this new system and implementing it.
Oh, it's definitely the most important tournament I've been a part of since being the head coach. Like there's no tomorrow. Basically, winners are gonna take it out. We need to finish top 2 to qualify for the games. There won't be another shot, so yes, stakes are pretty high.
You know, we have a really good mix of veteran and newer athletes for going into 2020. So we're a much younger team than we were in 2016. So that should fare well for us in 2020.
I think there's plenty of rivalries in our sport. You get all those teams together, and it's just a big fight.
Trevor was asked to be a torchbearer for the 2010 Paralympic Games in Vancouver, and this is it here. And we also have a picture of Trevor and myself and his mother and his sister with the bronze medal in Beijing.
I found the point where wheelchair rugby went from more of a rec thing to, okay, I really want to see where I can go with this, is I had been playing for a couple years. I was in university at UBC doing engineering, and I had progressed like kind of from the provincial Div 2 team to the provincial Div 1 team, so already starting to get to like a pretty serious level. But it was really kind of those last couple years of university where I started to think about what I wanted to do after university, and that was a point where it's like, okay, I want to give a real good run with wheelchair rugby and see how far I can get, and I had my eyes set on the national team. And it took me a bunch of years, but eventually made the team and got to compete for Canada in 2016 at the Rio Paralympics, and yeah, it was a really cool experience. Yeah, it's funny because so many of the guys on the team have been to like 3, 4, 5 Paralympics. It's like, oh yeah, I know this is just my second one.
Teams like Sweden and France and Germany all have lots of experience.
We have a lot of experience playing France, Colombia, and Brazil over the last couple of years. We've faced them quite a few times. Switzerland and Germany, we haven't faced them too much in the last little while, so it'll be kind of fun getting out there and banging around and seeing what they're all about.
Anytime you don't have to travel as much, it's nice. So yeah, that home court advantage offers that. But then there's the trade-offs. There's the extra pressure playing in front of friends and family, and maybe that distraction.
I'm training like 5-6 days a week, 3 times in the gym, lifting weights, working on my strength, 3 on-court sessions a week at least, so working on my skills, cardio, that sort of thing, like my agility, my speed, and then usually like once a week do like a nice long cardio session. So like all in all, it's like a part-time job, if not a full-time job. So I've definitely put my engineering career on like the back burner for sure, which is fine by me because wheelchair rugby is far more exciting. But I do manage to work part-time at the Vancouver International Airport as well, so it's kind of nice getting to have that balance of being physical and getting a good workout in and focusing on the rugby, but then also getting that bit of mental stimulation as well with working.
So Canada 58-36, 4.9 seconds, and Galimo will just hang on to the ball. Long pass. So Team Canada goes to 3-0, Brazil 0-3. Great performance by Team Canada there, Frosty.
You know, really dominated the game from start to finish. I think the skill level between the two teams was pretty evident.
I mean, I'm leading through action, and it's just how intense I am and how hard I'm working on the court, hopefully, is something that my teammates see and helps drive them, helps them to push themselves as hard as they can.
Across the Line will be back after the break. We now return to Across the Line. Back in Vancouver and on his way to the rugby stadium, co-captain of Team Canada, Trevor Hirschfield, explains his vision for the future of wheelchair rugby.
I would love to see our sport grow to the level that it is a household name, where you talk about wheelchair rugby, whether you've seen it or not, you know, you've heard of it, kind of thing.
Well, welcome wheelchair rugby fans across Canada and around the world, and particularly from Sweden, to the 2020 Paralympic Qualification Tournament. This is the last chance tournament.
This is a big game for Canada and Sweden as well, obviously, but you know, I would expect to see Canada come out and try to take control of the game and get an early lead and stamp their ticket to the top 4.
He's hit hard. We see number 7, Byron Green, into the game for Team Canada. Canada will attack. Medell with the ball. Canada was completely in control in this particular matchup. Really, at that time, nothing doing, as Canada will come away with a 55-39 victory to go to 4-0. Sweden drops to 1-3.
As Team Canada celebrates a victory over Sweden, they know they still have the powerhouse of Germany up ahead. The tournament is long and arduous, and there are no guarantees for an Olympic spot for anyone on the court.
Welcome wheelchair rugby fans from across Canada and around the world, and of course from Germany, as we get set to kick off this game between Germany and Canada.
This is a potential matchup on Sunday. I imagine both teams will be sizing each other up and figuring out what strategies might work. Big hit by Nadal over on the sideline.
The game against Germany is rough and tough, but Team Canada plays hard and pushes through to a victory.
Right to the final buzzer here. Nice to see that, as Canada comes away with a 59-31 victory over Team Germany. And this tournament's been very exciting. Frosty will run down some of the details, but first of all, we've got Canada versus France. This is the one we've been waiting for, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously the battle of the top two teams, as you mentioned, pretty evenly matched teams, and I'm sure both teams, of course, are eyeing that first overall finish.
Here comes Mike Whitehead now, long pass up ahead to Hirschfield from Parksville, BC. Great for France. Now he gets away. A little bit of room right side. Oh boy.
A talented team of fierce competitors and a serious challenge for Canada.
French player goes down. A little bit dangerous play there. What a turnover by Team Canada. Run out the clock here. And Canada will advance in the #1 seed to the qualification match tomorrow. 40-50. Frosty gives us a bit of a rundown of.
Well, based on the game that these two teams played back in the fall that went to triple overtime, I did expect that it would be a closer game.
With a hard-fought game, Team Canada charges towards victory at 50 points to 40 over Team France, placing them as the #1 seed for the qualifying games.
Welcome wheelchair rugby fans across Canada, around the world, and of course a special hello to our fans from Colombia.
Today is the day Team Canada has been working toward, the qualifying games that will secure the winners a spot in Tokyo.
Canada will take on Colombia at stake, a trip to Tokyo. I'm Tim Frick, joined by Adam Frost. Frosty, what's your prediction here, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think we'll see a similar game as we saw the first time these two teams played. You know, I think that Canada is a little bit deeper team, top to bottom, and as this game wears on, we'll probably see that taking place. See how the Colombians manage to do about controlling Zach and forcing the ball into some of Canada's other players, I think, which is maybe the key for them to have success here. And
Colombia, ranked 12 in the world, ends up 4th in this tournament, ahead of a few higher ranked teams. So Colombia actually really with an outstanding outing. And number 7, Moises, or I should say Carlos Neme. He's had a great tournament as number 7.
yeah, he has. He's a great young player for this Colombian squad.
Nunez is bottled up in his own zone. Across comes Whitehead, forced to pass up to Vargas. He's hit by Hirschfield. Doubled now by Whitehead. Ball tipped away from Vargas. Not sure whose chair it went off. I think it went off Hirschfield's chairs. Long pass up to Vargas, tracked down by Hirschfield. Left side to Nunez, who got away from Medell and Whitefield, and nice play by Columbia there.
Yeah, good start for them. I'm sure this is the start they're looking for. They've gone 3 possessions out without turning the ball over, so.
Big hit by Nunez on Medell, and Columbia with a great start.
The game against Colombia is an elimination match. The winners go through, and the losers will have to go home. The stakes are high for Team Canada, who come out to a slow start.
Canada a little sloppy there, but Hirschfield bails them out. He'll cross the line. Here comes Nunez. Oh, almost threw that one a little bit too far in front. He spins off Medell. Tracked down by Hirschfield. Nunez nowhere to go, so takes a look on the other side. He'll have plenty of room right side. Long pass up ahead. And that will be grabbed by Trevor Hirschfield, the first break for Canada, Frosty.
Yeah, first turnover for Canada, and that's really because the Canadians had the matchups they wanted on defense. When Zach's guarding Roscoe one-on-one, it's going to be a good result for them.
Of course, the pass up to Vargas. He's hit by Hirschfield. Doubled now by Whitehead.
Good job by Canada there.
Off to Nunez. He's got some room now left side. Cross comes Medell.
She called contact before the whistle, with Columbians are saying it's the first warning, but the referee disagrees.
Got some room. Medell hits him and spins him. Wow. Not really sure what happened there, but somehow Nunez weaved his way through. Vancouver's Byron Green into the game now, number 7. Nunez crosses the center line, evades a few Canadians, Colombian players, and Nunez is down. Team Canada with a couple of quick turnovers here. On the positive end will certainly benefit from this change of momentum. A little bit of a different look for Team Canada defensively, as they're making it really difficult for Colombia to get the ball in bounds.
Yeah, a couple of mistakes now by the Colombians.
It was hit hard. I thought he might have passed that one a little earlier. Outcome is no longer in doubt, and Canada will, in fact, be heading to Tokyo to keep their streak intact of never having missed a Paralympic Games or World Championship, as Medell crosses inside the right post. Kicked off there by Rodriguez, and he'll just hang on triumphantly as Canada 57-46 for Colombia. Canada will be going to Tokyo, Frosty, and what a performance by the Canadian team all week long, going undefeated, 7 wins, 0 losses.
Despite starting slow, Team Canada fought hard in this epic matchup, finding victory over Team Colombia.
Yeah, congratulations to Canada. Well-deserved victory today, and of course, great playing all week. And, you know, congratulations to the Colombian squad. I'm sure that, like we've said before, they'll be a little bit disappointed with this results, but as they reflect back on this week, I'm sure they'll be pretty happy with their performance. And I don't think there was anybody feeling that easy on the Canadian bench most of the way through this game, so, you know.
1 versus 4 matchup, you would have expected a little more of a gap, but full marks to Colombia there for their performance. You see the Canadian squad forming up there for the one last huddle. Last word before their team cheer. They will clearly appreciate their fan support, appreciate the week here at the Olympic Oval. And what a great feeling it is indeed to know that you are for sure now heading to the Paralympic Games in Tokyo.
And now, to announce the teams who have booked their tickets to the Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games through their outstanding performances in this tournament. Team France. Équipe France. Congratulations, well done. And the final team to qualify for Tokyo 2020 is Team Canada. Équipe Canada. And now for the individual awards for the 2020 Paralympic Qualification Tournament. The best low point player, Trevor Hirschfield.
I'm excited to have my kids grow up and maybe have a chance to watch me play rugby. I'm thankful to my wife for allowing me to travel and still pursue rugby and support me that way. And I'm happy with my life. I'm happy where I'm at.
It's done so much for my independence, for my strength, for my confidence. And I feel it's just really made me a much more confident person that's willing to go out and get a part-time job and be a dad and a husband and all these great things. So yeah, I owe a lot to the sport of wheelchair rugby.
I believe that wheelchair rugby goes way beyond athletic performance. It goes way beyond wins and losses. We're talking human stories, and I'm super privileged to be a part of this.
Guys coming into the wheelchair rugby family, and that's what we refer to it as a family. It's just the legacy of our team. You coming in, it's your job to carry on that legacy, to make sure that this team is at this high level for the next group of athletes coming in.
The injury itself really kind of pushed my life in a different direction than it was going, but wheelchair rugby really kind of brought me back on track and let me kind of take control over my life again. Yeah, like I owe wheelchair rugby so much because it's done amazing things for me in my life.
Weeks after the tournament ended, the COVID-19 virus pandemic struck around the globe. Canada was one of the first countries to pull out of both the Paralympic and Olympic events, putting the health and safety of the athletes and world community first. All the hard work and training were not for nothing. The Summer Games have been rescheduled to July of 2021. The teams now must wait to compete to be the best in the world. Producer and director Mike Wavercan. Production manager Sam Graham. Writer ADRIEN SALA. Director of photography Dean Azim. Location audio Mark Planadin. Editor, graphics and colorist Adam Blakesley. Narrator Rob Young. Music provided by FIRSTCOM Music. Integrated Described Video Specialist Simone Cupid. Regional Content Specialist Sylvie Fiquette. Coordinating Producer Jennifer Johnson. Director Production Kara Nye. Director Programming Brian Perdue. VP Programming and Production John Melville. President and CEO David Arrington. Produced by M1 Films. Copyright 2020 AMI Accessible Media Incorporated.